Oh, well, back for another week of Instagame with Clarkey and Drury.
Dude,
Christopher Clark, there he is. I'm
dude,
Drury.
so
What's up?
much has happened
Man,
in
I
7 days. The
this
Leafs
has
have a
been
coach. They traded a goalie. We have a Stanley Cup champion. We have a non-Stanley Cup champion who disappeared in the last 3 games. And
yeah.
we have a winner in the Canadian Open pool. We'll get to
Yeah,
more of
we
that
do. We
later.
have a lot of things to talk about, and
Yeah.
we're gonna cover all that, including picks for the US Open, which will be later with our buddy Ian Doig. But before
Yeah.
we do that, we're very excited to welcome on a guy that knows an awful lot about the Toronto sports scene, okay? Just like my friend Christopher Clark here, former member at MLSE, longtime writer with great outlets like The Sun. We love The Sun, right? Our buddy Rob Longley. Okay, so we're bringing on a Sun alum and an accomplished author as well that had an impact on my childhood, we found out as well. So how about that? Welcome to our friend, Mike Ulmer. How are you, sir?
I'm well, but when you say I had an impact on your childhood, it doesn't sound great.
No, okay, but here, no, a positive impact.
Like I was a bad teacher or the neighborhood bully. Get off my lawn, that guy. I wasn't that guy.
No, because before
You probably were
here,
that guy. Like, seriously.
Oh,
the way I know Mike, he was the guy. Get off my
he
lawn.
couldn't be, because he wrote, as we discovered off air before we came on here, you're the author of M is for Maple, which I absolutely remember reading when I was a kid in public school. That's unbelievable, man.
That is so great. Yeah, that was a funny one because it was done by an American company. They wanted to do it. And a lot of times still people come up to me and say, well, how do I get my book published? And I'm so embarrassed, Drury, because I didn't, there was no plan. They came to me and I said, no. They came back to me. I said, no, I don't want to do this. Third time they said, come on down to Michigan. So I went there and then they fed me. And that was the magic bullet. When you feed me, I'm okay. And so they fed me and I did the book and we sold so a bestseller is kind of considered like if you sell 5,000 books, that's really good. And we sold 160,000. There's more. That book is everywhere. I'm so proud of it. I'm so glad you read it.
As you should be. Now, for those who aren't familiar, before we dig into our hard-hitting sports talk here, M is for Maple. So it was basically a book of like a bunch of different little short stories and poems. It rhymed, and you'd learn things about Canada in there, like stuff like Anna Green Gables and Terry Fox and the history of the country. And like I 100% remember reading this specifically in Mrs. Fisher's grade 7 history class at Arthur Public School. Shout out Miss Fisher. She was the best. I 100% remember reading the book. Absolutely incredible, man. You've had a real interesting career, which includes covering the Toronto sports scene and being an MLSE employee with this cat over here. What was that like?
That was pretty interesting. It was really good. Chris was really good at his job. He was
wasn't that your boss at one point?
I don't think so.
I was.
I never would have. I never
was
or recognized it. That seemed impossible to me. But you were really good at your job, and you were well liked, and you're good at what you did.
You hear that, Drury?
I don't debate it as much as I disagree with you on a lot of things. You're pretty darn good at what you do, buddy, including making me upset. Now, Mike, I want to ask you, obviously, as Clarkey detailed off the top of the show, boy, a lot has happened since our last episode, and we're pleased that you're here. Let's start with the big one, obviously. We're recording this on Wednesday, June 17th, and it was announced today that the Toronto Maple Leafs have a brand new coach. He's familiar to the team, but he is a brand new head coach. The 41st head coach in Leafs history is one Mr. Jim Hiller. When you heard this news, your thoughts were what?
My thought was, what? This is supposed to be the number one franchise in the NHL. It isn't, but it's supposed to be the number one franchise in the NHL. There's so much wrong with this story. And I don't know Jim Hiller. From everyone tells me he's a wonderful guy. I certainly would acknowledge that, and good on him. There's nothing in his resume to suggest that he's that kind of up and coming guy. I mean, when we talk about bright young coaches, is someone going to make a list of bright young coaches that includes this guy's name? There's no way. He's completely off the board. And that would be okay if he was like an intriguing package, if he was super, I don't know, the Greek god of analytics or something like that. If he was super well known for this, if he was like, I know he has a connection with data in terms of the business that he ran. But if he was like the great savant of analytics or meteorology or anything like that, I'd say, okay, maybe. This guy is the biggest nobody I've ever heard of. I guess that's kind of redundant. He's the biggest nobody I've never heard of.
So why did they hire him?
That's a great question, Clarkey. Why do you think they hired him? Are they sort of looking for that whole, like, are they trying to really just look for that whole complete mediocrity? Because if they are, this is the guy.
Well, I'm curious, and that brings me to my next question for both of you guys. And Clarkey, I obviously want to hear your thoughts on this too. But Mike, like, you guys both worked there. Like, you kind of understood how MLSE operated back then. Obviously, it's a very different looking regime under Keith Pelly's leadership. Like, is your impression of this like what I'm seeing a lot of from fans and different people I'm talking to online, that they're just taking the cheap option, not only with their general manager, but the coach too? Because I was shocked by this. I couldn't believe it. So,
Chris, do you mind if I go first? And then
Go for it.
I'll open the floor to you. The MLSE that we worked for back in the year 2010, around there, Chris, bears no resemblance whatsoever to the MLSE that works there now. That's there now. The thought of having two broadcasters, two veteran broadcasters, two of the top guys in their field, Jim Ralph and Joe Bowen, operating from a TV screen would have been absolutely inconceivable at that time. The Maple Leafs have become a corporate entity, and by that they've become this faceless blob that's fallen into the mire of Rogers Broadcasting. There's nothing to commend any innovation or any thoughtfulness in Rogers Broadcasting whatsoever. They're just a monolithic, plain vanilla, what you see is what you get. Just the money, just the money, just the money. Everyone knocks Richard Petty, and you know what? His teams didn't win. But and everyone goes, well, he must have been an idiot. That guy was the best boss I've ever had. If you worked at MLSE and you were in the elevator, you didn't want to meet Richard Petty, because he would go, oh, hey, I heard you're working on this, or hey, someone tell me about this. He was an active, dynamic boss that worked all the way up and down the chain. There is no one that bears even the slightest resemblance to that now.
Wow. Clarkey, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I'd hate to think they're taking the cheap route, but it certainly looks like they are. When you take a look at who they've hired as their GM and their head coach. But quite frankly, nothing else has worked. They've hired the Mike Babcocks. They hired the Craig Berubis. They've hired the sexy names, and it hasn't worked. Jim Hiller's name came out of nowhere. And I think that's half the people's issues with it is all of a sudden they were hit with this name this morning at 9:00. Jim Hiller, who's this guy? What have they done? And I commend them for not leaking anything, because they certainly kept this one under wraps.
That's because no one would believe it that this guy would be the coach of the Maple Leafs.
Well, but there's been other names out there like Dallas Eakins, who I said, this guy better not be the next coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs either. Go ahead.
I know Dallas Eakins.
I know you do, but he's a terrible coach. He's one of the worst coaches in NHL history.
So I think the most important, and I think you really hit upon this here, the most important part of this process was the compulsion towards secrecy. So let's look at what happened. Now, in the NBA and different sports, there's always a go-to guy. In the NBA, it was Waz. Always a go-to guy that gets all the scoops. He's affiliated with usually with the host broadcasting network, and he gets all the scoops. And that guy, since Bob McKenzie retired, is Elliott. What they did to Elliott was absolutely unconscionable. They set him up. They floated all these names. So Elliott every day would report them. And then they dropped this guy out of this guy. Well, maybe you got a good laugh around the board table there because you outsmarted the media. But one thing you did do is, and you don't seem to care about, is you pissed off your fan base enormously. And you went out of your way to discredit a guy who should be your number one asset for the league. The one guy you go to, he knows all the stuff. You went out of your way to try to wreck this guy's career. That's how petty you bastards are.
It's a strange situation for sure. And
if I can just add to that, the name Jim Hiller had been floated out there, at least people could have had some background, some information, some knowledge on this guy.
They could have rolled it around.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. Like, and you're right. Like, we both know Elliott. Darren Dreger on the other side. I heard Darren Dreger on a podcast today said, "Well, we knew Hiller was on the radar, but we didn't really." I'm like, well, why didn't you talk about him then?
Yeah,
because his name never came out of your mouth, Darren, for the past month. You know what? As I've said, time will tell. We're going to find out how this new regime is going to work. I have no control over who they hire.
But here's the thing, Clarkey. I think we have found out how this new regime is going to work.
No, we haven't. They haven't played a game yet.
Out of their way to put the boots to the number one guy we would turn to. They sabotaged this guy with false information.
Do you think he feels that way? Do you think Elliott feels that way?
Actually, I'd love to ask him. And in doing so, they sabotaged their own relationship with their fans. It's not that who they hired, it's how they hired them. That's the message. You're right. We don't know anything about Jim Hiller. Maybe he'll be a great coach. But what we do know is that they put out a complete misinformation campaign just because they were dicks.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, and I think
tell us how you really feel.
Well, I think that it kind of lends into what Mike said about how there's a prevailing feeling among the fan base, and I know you feel this way too, Clarkey, about MLSE becoming far too much of a corporate entity separate of the fan base that makes it what it is.
Yeah.
And I think that that's where people kind of get their backs up and go like, we pay the highest prices for everything in this league. We haven't seen a Stanley Cup in 59. If this season goes by, it'll be 60 years. We would like to know a little bit more about what's going on the ground, the second, the third, far be it from the top floor down here. So I think that that's part of the issue. I'll say this for Jim Hiller, like we said when John Chayka got hired, Clarkey. Yeah, time will tell. I didn't think that the Toronto Maple Leafs were a time will tell franchise. I figured that they were a little more proactive than this, but we will see how it works out. I'll say this for him. When he was the assistant coach under Mike Babcock, he had 2 years back to back where they had the number 2 power play in the league when he was running their power play. Then they dipped a little bit to 8th. No big deal. Ran a really good power play as an assistant coach. He went in there and was 21-12-1 with the Kings when he took over with a few games left in that season, got skunked by the Oilers. Yeah. And then of course he had a pretty good He had a pretty good season the next year where they won 48 games, and then there was the disastrous goaltender interference challenge that he had.
But who's in charge of that? At the end of the day,
him.
At the end of the day,
head coach.
It's the review room who's saying do it or not.
He's the head coach.
I get
Clarkey, it. Head.
You have to
coach.
rely on your people, though, and his people were telling him to challenge it, so he
could have not done it. The fact of the matter is, blame runs downhill. It runs downhill. You know that, Clarkey. And ultimately, people lay it at his feet. We'll see how this works out. I'm curious as well. Do you have anything else you want to add about your new head coach, Clarkey, before we move on to the trade?
No.
I think we've kind of said all we can say about him, really.
Well,
I mean, we'll see how
it goes. One thing in. It used to be the Maple Leafs. They were out of the box thinkers. They hired Kyle Dubas. Whether you like
what did it do for them, Ulmer? What did it do?
Well,
what did they win when they did that?
He created it. Well, I guess you're right. But they made the playoffs 9 years in a row, and he was sitting right in the middle of it. And
are we celebrating that now? Because we haven't been for the last 9 years.
No, but I mean, this was a young guy, a young, smart guy. He was a little out of the box, but he was a young, smart guy, right?
And you know what happened? He came within this close to trading Mitch Marner, which would have been the best, smartest thing this franchise did, and he got fired because he was about to do it by Brendan Shanahan.
Yep.
Well, wouldn't that reinforce Mike's point then about how Dubas was a little bit more forward thinking? Like, you're kind of proving his point for him. Shanny was the one who's now catching strays for getting a little too involved in the cookie jar, if you will. Like, I don't know.
And give me the guy that says, I don't know about this guy. He's way, way out there, but boy, he brings a lot of interest. Roger Nielsen. Let's go back 40 years. Roger Nielsen. They call him Captain Video. Young. No one knew who the hell he was. Innovative. Kind of out there, right? The world joined him. When is the world going to join Jim Hiller?
That's a good question that, as Clarkey said again, like a broken record, time will tell. I will say, like I heard somebody say earlier today, it's a far cry, to your point, Mike, of them being so innovative. It's a far cry from the days of, God rest his soul, Cliff Fletcher, making that 10-player deal to bring in Dougie, right? Like that Toronto Maple Leafs seems to be very, very far off to the wayside. And maybe if Shanahan had allowed Kyle Dubas to explore a Mitch Marner trade and potentially other trades at that time, things might have worked out a little differently. I don't know. It always engenders, remember, Clarkey, that famous press conference of Paul Holmgren when he traded Mike Richards and he traded Jeff Carter, and somebody in Philly asked him, do you think your team's better today? And he said, I don't know if we're better, but we're going to be different. Now, it didn't work out for Paul and the Flyers. That was 2 all-time terrible trades that they should not have done. But that's what it kind of reminds me of. Like he loaded a bullet into the gun and he fired it, and it didn't work out. But geez, it was interesting. I'm curious, Mike. The other big story, obviously, the day prior, Tuesday of this week, John Chayka makes his first significant roster move with the Toronto Maple Leafs, where he trades Joseph Woll and Simon Benoit to Philly for a 3rd-round pick and Emile Andre, who's an intriguing young player. Like, we'll see what he turns into. What were your thoughts when you first saw this? I was a little taken aback because I thought of the 2 goalies that they had that they would be trying to sell Stolars, but it's Woll instead.
You know what? Well, first thing, hats off to the good people at IBM. That's so symbolic, really so symbolic that this big corporation inadvertently, more than anything else, tips its hat to IBM. That's really heartfelt. What has Joseph Woll done to deserve this? Nothing. He's just an off injury, and he's a great guy. I knew Joe Woll. I liked him. I think he's a great guy. He was a rather undistinguished goaltender. I think, first off, let's start with this. The whole idea that we should heap praise and have videos for guys just because they happen to wear the colors one time and they got traded now. I mean, thank you, Joseph Woll, for what? Come on, have some standards. It's just another example of the mediocre groupthink that's come to dominate this franchise.
Yeah, and I mean, other franchises do it too. Like, yeah, we really have gotten out of control with like the thank you videos and stuff.
Thank you.
I agree.
Across all sports, really.
Thank you,
like,
Peter Holland.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Peter.
No disrespect. Like, we're not saying like, fans don't appreciate this guy, and like a lot of fans really like Joseph Woll. They played Oasis after he won a game.
Hey, at least went into last season. A lot of people thought they had the 2 best, the best duo goaltenders there were. And
a lot of
people got hurt.
The
The other guy couldn't play. Yeah, and he couldn't play.
That.
The bottom line is he couldn't play. He had every opportunity last year to step up when Stolars got hurt and prove he's a number 1 goalie in the league, and he couldn't do it.
I look at him and I wish him well, and I hope things work out for him. The poor guy, he can't stay healthy.
And that's the
problem. The biggest thing was the game 7 against Boston, where like he was unbelievable in the game 6, replacing Ilya Samsonov, who couldn't stop a beach ball.
He made that save. That was so irrelevant at the time. And
then he can't play.
He couldn't play the next game.
But he told the team when they came off the bus that he couldn't play, right? So like that's what a lot of people were upset about. And so I understand Mike's sentiment toward it's like, thank you for bailing on us in a game 7 where you were brilliant the night before and we thought we were finally gonna slay the Beantown Dragon. I don't know. That's not to say we're trying to disrespect Joseph Woll here.
No.
I do find it pretty ironic that he's going to goaltender hell in Philadelphia. Like, if you think it's going to get easier for you down there, good grief. Like, you want to talk about a graveyard of goaltenders down there, man. Holy cow. Don't talk to Ilya Bryzgalov about that.
Best nickname for goaltender, Roman Chuchmanik. You know what they used to call him? Bipolar goaler.
Yeah. And Checky, like, he had some really good years for them there, and then it would flip the other way.
And Joe Woll could have some good years there. He's got to stay healthy. It's too bad that a guy who had so much hope with the Toronto Maple Leafs was traded for what he was traded for, which was it seems on the surface next to nothing. 3rd round pick, great. And then 2 guys. Sweets.
We'll see what Emile Andre turns into. Like,
and what's the other? Got another guy too.
The other goalie, Swedish kid.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. Ayrson, who
Yes.
I doubt the Leafs are even going to offer a contract to. I think they're just going to let him bounce.
The problem
because
is
they've got Hildeby and they've got this Akhtiamov kid who,
hey,
it's worth mentioning. The Marlies 3-0 up right now as we record this on the Chicago
Maybe get Todd
World.
Crocker on.
We got to get Todd. We will have
what
Croc
a great
on
guy.
100%.
There's a great pro, eh? What a great guy.
Ever tell
Croc's
you who hired
best.
him?
No, who hired him?
Brilliant mind.
Brilliant mind.
Brilliant mind. He was a former Saturday's Heroes color commentator with
Christopher H. Clark Esquire.
And he's still there. And will he get the Leaf job? Or is there someone else with the last name Bowen who might get it? We'll see.
There's a lot of rumors flying around with that. I'm curious as well.
Sorry, I didn't know. Is there rumors going around that Joe's son was going to get it?
Oh, he's filled in for Joe. So
he's filled in there's some rumors flying around. We'll see what happens there. Hard shoes to fill. You talk about shoes to fill.
Work for Dan Schulman, so yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, absolutely. Ben's doing a great job. I'm curious, Clarkey, anything else you want to touch on with the Leafs here, or can we move on to another problem area in Toronto?
You can move on. I might bring them back up at some point, like I usually do, but I think at this point you can move forward.
They're certainly worthy of being brought up. There's no question.
You're funny.
Yeah, well, let's talk a little baseball here.
Okay.
What is your impression right now of what this Toronto Blue Jays season's turning into? Because as we record this, they're 4 games under 500. Like, it's not like they're out of it. And the American League is a gong show this year. Like, there's 2 good teams, maybe. I guess you could squeeze 3 out of it, but not likely. What do you think of this Jay season so far? Because it's been all over the place. Now Max Scherzer's got back spasms. Like, we might never see him again. I don't know. What are you taking away so far from this season, Mike? It's been a bit of a mess.
It's just the old thing about baseball. There's just no game has this many variables as baseball does. Baseball, I love baseball because often you can go see something you've never seen before in baseball. Last year in game 6, you guys, when the guy hit the ball 320 feet and he hit the ball into a spot under the mat that was just not quite the size of a baseball. I've never seen that before. I say this to say so many things can happen in baseball, and certainly to your pitching staff. And this is why a team that makes it to the World Series, so many things have to go right. I know that sounds really patent as a cliche, but it's really, there's a meteor shower of possibilities coming at you. And sometimes it doesn't hit the planet, if I can use that analogy, or all these possible combinations of the dice or the cards. And sometimes you hit, but so many things can go wrong. And you saw it from the first day of spring training. So it's a reinforcement of that kind of old bromide, man. You know, it looked easy when you got there, but getting back is way, way, way harder.
It certainly is. And poor Addison Barger, my God, like that damn ball wedged under that wall. Yeah. It's going to live in infamy forever.
What are the odds of that happening? You know, what are the odds?
Well, it's that old Billy Bean saying, how can you not be romantic about baseball? Yeah. And sometimes romance is ugly.
Yeah.
Sometimes romance is ugly, Mike. And I really hope that they tore that padding off the wall and burned it somewhere in the dome, man. Because like that,
the Steve Bartman ball, the baseball that the Cubs end up blowing up. Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, they blew it up, and poor Steve. I mean, they invited him to the World Series parade, and he declined. Of course, that was unfortunate. Yeah, I think the wall.
Too. I would too. That was pure scapegoating. I digress, but that was pure scapegoating.
Yeah, people forget the Cubs had 100,000 chances to win that game and series. That was game 6, by the way. Anyway, I'm just curious.
Lost back-to-back all year.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Yeah,
I'm curious your thoughts on the real heart of the issue here for the Jays, and that's Vladdy. Like, I was floored. I think, Clarkey, we've talked numerous times about like how goofy the whole all-star setup is for the NHL. This guy and Ernie Clement are the leading vote getters from fans in the American League. Vladdy Jr. can't go to the all-star game. Like, that's embarrassing. And he's probably embarrassed that he's getting all these votes, Mike. Like, he is having a legitimately disastrous season to start a mammoth contract.
I know. So what's he got? How many home runs has he got? 6?
He's got 3.
3.
He has 3. 3.
It's remarkable. And
one per month.
it once again goes back to that thing. You just don't know. I mean, you just come on. We were sitting there last year talking after the postseason he was terrific. Who'd have thought he would go in the tank as badly as it did? I mean, his arc was, really, he started out so great, and then there's some fluctuations as he moved into his mid-20s. But it just seemed to be really redeemed by how well he performed in the postseason last year. And then for him to fall off the table, it's just crazy. But again, being baseball, guys just stop being good in baseball. In hockey and basketball, they age out, they begin to deteriorate. In baseball, guys just stop being good, right? Steve Blass can't pitch anymore. World Series MVP can't pitch anymore. Steve Sachs can't throw to first anymore. Just can't throw to first. It's just baseball. It's so crazy weird.
It really is. When you run down the list, it's Josh Hamilton for plenty of other reasons. Guys, you're just like all of a sudden, like, what on earth happened to this poor guy? Yeah. And I'm reticent to think that that's where we're heading with Vladdy, but he needs to get somebody in there that can clue him in on. I mean, you talked about his launch angle from earlier in his career. Let's get this guy hitting some home runs here. They didn't pay $500 million for Luis Arias, which I keep on bringing up, but it's true. Like, if we just want a guy that hits near 300 and gets a bunch of singles, like, you can go get a Luis Arias to do that for $10 million.
Yeah.
So they got to figure this thing out.
And you know what? It didn't seem likely to me, Ryan, because because he came off that good postseason. A lot of guys signed the big money deal, but then they have and they're shitty all the way through. But he had that great postseason, which you would think positioned him to really come out of the chute, and it just did not happen. But here's the other thing. Now, Clarkey will tell you this, and this is just sort of inside baseball here. You and I and Chris, watching this guy, know about 10% of what's going on in his life. When you're in the media, and I was in the media, when you're in the media, you criticize, but you have no idea. You have no idea what's going on with that person. Maybe his kid is sick. We don't know. Maybe he has cancer. We don't know. Maybe he has any measure of injuries. Maybe he has a terrible domestic situation. Maybe we don't know. With human beings, you just don't know. The thing about sports is, and we can't know. I can't know what's going on inside the Blue Jays clubhouse. I might make some educated guess. I might have some sources, blah, 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 blah. The best you can do is make an educated guess. But the magic of sports is that you don't know. You think you know, but you don't know. And when you cross the floor and you start working for the club that you covered, and I'd like to hear what Chris says about this. When you start to see and meet the people inside the organization, you realize how little you really know. And so the only thing I would say about Vlad Guerrero Jr. is that it's unfathomable, but something is going on, something that we don't know.
100%. Yeah, these guys, it's easy to forget. They're not numbers on a spreadsheet. They are people, which is worth mentioning. I'm curious to just ask you one last thing, Mike, and we really appreciate your time.
Oh, thanks.
In your time working in media, or whether it was at MLSE or whether it was as a writer, a media member, what do you look back on as maybe your most fun experience getting to either cover something or an event with MLSE? Like, what's an event or a meeting with somebody, an athlete, that really sticks out to you that you look back on really fondly?
Well, that's a good one because that's timely, because around 1999, that's how old I am, around 1999 or 2000, the All-Star game was in Tampa. And at the All-Star game, it used to be that all the writers you have an hour and a half and you could play on the ice. You could play. So that's how I got to play at different venues, a few different venues. And I was talking to Matt Sundin, and he said, "How you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm okay, but there's a media game. I didn't bring my stuff." And Matt said, "Okay, just use my stuff." So I used his gloves, and his shin pads came up to my waist, and I'm terrible. I'm so bad that I'm thinking, man, what happens if my flop sweat gets into Matt Sundin's gloves and he doesn't score for 15 years? Maybe I'm going to do that to him. I did. Matt's being Matt. He scored in the first game back. But having a hockey player say, just go use use my stuff. I have a lot of regard for Matt Sundin.
As you well should.
Then how can you not cheer for this team, this franchise?
Yeah, explain your new fandom here, Mike. You were
this made up ridiculous fandom.
Finish off with this. Walk us through this process.
I have been a Leaf fan for 50 years.
Then you can't bail.
50 years. It's a bad marriage, Clarkey. It's a bad marriage. At the end of, I'm going to tell you something. I told you this in person. Once you get off it, once you stop it, and you go to a reasonable fan base where you can be proud of their history, where you can look at their recent drafting and acquisitions, and it's good. Once they have the best uniform, they have the best home crowd, they have the best history, and they have one of the best young teams. Which of the four do the Leafs have? Here, I'll help you. Zero. Corporate bullshit, empty seats at the end of every intermission. Harold Ballard is your history. Come on, man. Come on. You get off them because and I was loyal. You know what happened to me it was just crazy. I was a kid. I was 13. Clarkey will tell you when you're 13, you brand yourself. Sporting teams know this. Whoever wins when you're 13 and you're watching them, that's your team. So the Canadians won.
I branded myself
72, 73. There, look at that. The Canadians won, and I thought, well, that's my team. And then they fired their coach, Al McNeil. And I said, my 13-year-old self said, bullshit. If they're going to do this, I'm not going to cover them anymore. So I'm going to cheer for them. So I went and covered the Leafs. How did that work out? Now, and the other thing is, too, I met Maurice Richard, right? I did a book on the Leafs. No one even moved a finger. I did a book on the Canadians. I met Maurice Richard. You know how hard it is to wait for Phil Kessel after you've interviewed Maurice Richard? Really hard. The Canadians are a value system. They're not a religion. They're much more than that. Their red is the blood of the nation. They're spiritual. They're all about bigger questions. The Maple Leafs are all about a line item. I'm gone, and I'm going to tell you something else. My walk is a little faster. The air is a little cleaner, and the beer is a little tastier. I am never going back.
Wow, that is a statement. Well, I'm sure Clarkey is recalling a very.
You're not getting back on. That's all I'm saying.
Well,
that's
I
good.
think that Clarkey's probably recalling a very famous rock lyric from 1986. Bon Jovi, "Slippery When Wet." You give love a bad name.
Thank
How
you.
about that?
Thank you.
It's not bad,
Thank you. Nice.
Mike, thank you, sir. And again, extensive authorship under Mike's belt as well. He's written numerous hockey books, but the one that sticks out for me the most, and we've got to get it up there.
There it is. Oh,
it's this one. It's M is for Maple. Get out there and get your kids to read. Come on, everybody. How about that? Mike, we appreciate this, man.
What was your teacher's name?
Mrs. Fisher.
Here's to Mrs. Fisher.
Here's to Mrs. Fisher. M is for Maple. She knew what she was doing. This is good Canadian content.
I remember this book, too. I think I was in grade 5.
That's right.
Clark.
Well, you should remember.
Your kids were in grade 5.
Grade 5 was your 3 best years.
Yeah.
That's a good spot to end it. Mike, thank you so much for doing this, brother. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Me too. Thanks for having me.
It's been fun. Thanks, buddy.
You bet.
There he is, Mike Ulmer, the legend himself. How about that? M is for Maple. You never know who you're going to run into in this business.
I've been hiding him from you.
M is, well, you shouldn't have been, Clark. M is for Maple. Come on here.
I've been hiding him. I was waiting for the right time, and he then this morning demanded to come on the show and said, "What time do you want me?" And I said, "I don't remember asking you, but sure, we'll have you on."
You know what? And he fit the instigating moniker perfectly because he came in here with a sledgehammer, brother. He
did.
He was really.
We forgot to tell him our show's on Rogers. Well, at least it was. It might not be anymore.
It doesn't. We're fine. Don't worry about it. We're doing just fine. Before we take a quick break, we'll take a quick break and get Doig on here. We'll do our U.S. Open picks. We'll break down who won the Canadian Open picks and all that stuff. Quickly, we do have a new Stanley Cup champion, and it's a Stanley Cup champion that's 20 years in the making. And here's the first one. How about Rod Brind'Amour becoming just the 4th person ever to win a Stanley Cup for a franchise as a player? There he is in 2006, one of the better cup lifts of all time. Rod the Bod. How about that? And then here he is 20 years later in the locker room with his guys, and look at Rod the Bod.
I thought that was
all
all
this guy. This guy, you thought that was Ulmer. Look at this guy.
Yeah, he's
Rod Brindamore. And by the way, hilarious story comes out at the end of like dryland training sessions and everything. You'd have the guys lift a 35-pound weight over their heads to end it, because that's how much the cup weighs. And which is just a hilarious story. All year long, he was doing that. This guy could probably speed bag 98% of the league currently. He is a specimen, dude. My God, look at Rod the Bot in there with the boys. Congrats to Jordan Stahl, Thunder Bay's finest, on an ununbelievable like he wasn't even in the conversation really in the Stanley Cup final for the ages.
They were 16-3.
16-3, one of the best cup runs ever. Dominant. Beautiful. Swept Ottawa, swept Philly, did the gentleman's sweep on Montreal, Mike's Montreal Canadiens, lost the first game and then just walked them. And then, man, oh man, had a pretty good Wild West shootout with Vegas. Like those games it was really entertaining. You know, a lot of people were going, this Stanley Cup final might be a dud. It had all kinds of explosions in it, and an emphatic 3-0 win on the back of the bus. Brandon Bussey coming in and
I love it. I love that guy.
3-0. What a story.
Well, I want to share something
a Disney movie.
I want to share something with you, and I don't want to sound like a creepy old man.
No,
I'm on TikTok every once in a while, just flipping through, and back in probably November, December, I come across this young lady on TikTok, and she's getting ready to go to a hockey game. And what do you call it? Get ready with me is what it's called. And she's just showing her outfit, what she's going to wear to the game. And I thought this is kind of cool. Anyway, and it was just neat seeing, I bought these jeans at Target, like not like expensive stores. And every game I would watch what she was wearing to the game that night. And it turned out to be Mary, Brendan Bussey's fiance. I kept wondering, is he going to play? Is he going to play? Is he going to play? But I give her credit. She never changed her demeanor throughout the entire playoff. It didn't matter if Freddie was playing or Brandon was playing. She kept doing her TikToks exactly the same. Just fun to watch. It's just a fun little TikTok to watch. So I don't want to, again, be the creepy old man, but it was.
No, that's good.
It's kind of fun.
You're following along, brother.
I am.
Really quickly, we got to hit on this too.
Yeah.
Tradition, man. 74 years. After 74 years, no more Hockey Night in Canada to be broadcast on the CBC for our viewers there. There's the statement Sportsnet put out. Basically they're not going to renew the rights with CBC to be able to have CBC broadcast Hockey Night in Canada across their numerous platforms, including CBC Gem. So it's been a divisive announcement, man. Like a lot of people are really, really upset about this.
I hope Hockey Night in Canada, the brand stays. It just
because CBC still owns the branding. So like Sportsnet, assuming that they're not going to have this. And there's a lot of tentacles involved in the way that the partnership worked, which we don't have time to break down. I'm not a business major, but CBC unequivocally owns the branding still. They were licensing it to Sportsnet. If Sportsnet wants it going forward, like
they're going to pay for it.
They're going to have to
maybe here's what I'm hoping. Like, can I just throw this out there?
Please.
TSN buys the rights to Hockey Night in Canada and reunites it with the music they already bought.
Yeah, TSN has the original theme song.
Yes.
Which they bought ages and ages ago. I think they bought that in like just after the first lockout. They bought that. Crazy stuff. Yeah, it's interesting how all that ties together. Anyway, it's it's a sad thing to see for sure.
Yeah.
Canadian institution. How about that?
Hopefully it does still live.
Hopefully
some things
they can figure this out.
To stick around and not get thrown aside.
You're right.
Hockey Are we going to break?
Is one of them. Yeah, we're going to take a quick break.
Okay, can I just mention one thing? I don't want to do it at the end of the show. I want to do it now. Please. But this, our official mascot, Sandy, left me a couple weeks ago. She was on our show a lot. She was always in the background behind me on the couch. And her time was just up. And she was the world. I have a great dog now, Ember. But Sandy was unbelievable. And when they say man's best friend, they mean it with her. Went through a lot with her. But just a terrific dog. And I had to say something because of the amount of times Sandy made an appearance on the show. And the one I remember the most was when I tried to be a Zamboni driver after David Ayres got his ticket to the National Hockey League. And Sandy was watching with me on the couch. But Sandy, you're going to be really missed.
She certainly is. Sandy, we always joke she was our unofficial mascot. She is the mascot of Instigating.
And
she
always
will be.
Yeah.
She always will be. God love you, Sandy. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back with Doig. Talk about the Canadian Open, obviously. Big win for somebody on here. Speaking of a Canadian institution, how about that? And we got to make some picks for Shinnecock. I'm so excited for Shinnecock.
Who's the first pick? We're going to find out.
We're going to find out who the first pick is next on Instigating. There he is, the man, the myth, the legend of Montreal, the Montrealer, Ian Doig, ladies and gentlemen. And as promised, it is time to, first of all, before we make our U.S. Open picks at beautiful Shinnecock Golf Course, and it's shaping up to be an unbelievable U.S. Open, we have to quickly do this. We'll do it really quickly because I know this guy wants to gloat. How about this? Our RBC Canadian Open picks. Congratulations to Christopher Clark.
Look at that.
36 under.
Doigy. I'm waiting.
For what?
You know darn well what. What was your comment to me on the phone on the text?
That you had bumped your head.
Right. After I picked who?
Yeller Raja Jamu or whatever his name is.
Let's get
a Canadian at -12 who beat every one of your guys. One of them.
That wasn't hard. Only one of my guys made the cut.
Right.
Who bumped their heads? Anyway, I'm not going to gloat anymore. I ran away with it, great. And it was dominating.
Sudarshan Yelamarahu making a serious statement, the low Canadian. Congratulations to him. He was really, really good. And, hey, the Skechers magic worked out real well for you, Clarkey. Let's see if you can maybe make one of those guys work for you again here. It's going to be tough sledding at Shinnecock. So there you have it. Clarkey at 36 under wins the RBC Canadian Open pickoff. And that means as we shift our focus to Shinnecock, that Mr. Clark, you are on the clock for our golf picks this week. So take it away at number one overall. Who are we taking?
So the guy who's been picking number one has not been doing too well in our pools. So I'm not going to pick the guys.
That's because he keeps picking Rory McIlroy.
Right, and I'm not going to, and I'm not picking. I am going with my guy. He's my guy all year, and he wears the same shoes as me. Matty Skechers, number one pick.
Sick. See, now, when I ran the table on the golf picks last year, and I'm on a serious cold streak here, boys. But when I ran the table for 2 straight years, Matty Skechers was my guy, and you used to tease me all the time for picking him all the time, and now all of a sudden he's become your guy, and it makes me sick.
He was my guy.
It makes me physically. No, he wasn't. You didn't even know who Matt Fitzpatrick
was. Your turn.
It is my turn, and I'm going to go with a guy that I know is good with the wind. Okay, and Doigy rolled with him last week. It was pretty good. I don't know that he's going to win the U.S. Open, but you can be darn sure he's going to finish top 10. Tommy Fleetwood.
I'd like to say something right now because
please.
You took my pick.
Sorry.
Like, come on, really? Like, you guys, all you guys do is follow who I picked the previous week, and then you pick my guy.
Yeah, I don't know why. You didn't
win
last week.
Hang on just
He's the one guy who made the cut, though.
That's contradictory to what I just said when I ran the table for 2 straight years. If anything, you guys have been picking my picks. And it's your pick now for 2, Doigy. So go ahead.
All right. Well, you know what? I'm gonna go with Scotty Scheffler.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna follow him up with Rory.
Yeah.
Rory McIlroy.
The 2 big guys. Although it's worth noting, Scotty, he struggles at the U.S. Open.
I know, but he's going to win. He's going to win the Grand Slam, and he's going to do it this week. So
he needs this one. He needs this one. So I like the motivation pick. Bouncing it back to me, you took Rory, and no one's surprised by that. Rory's kind of become your guy. Rory's always your guy.
Yeah.
He's this guy.
Rory's your guy.
Always.
We understand. I'm going to take a guy that it doesn't matter what the weather is. It doesn't matter what the wind is, rain or shine. Hasn't had the greatest year so far, but this guy's due for a big performance, and we know he can do it. One of my all-time favorites, Mr. Yellow Shirt, Hideki Matsuyama.
Sylvie's going crazy over here.
No,
Yeah,
no.
that's great.
Okay. She likes Yellow
that.
Shirt.
She likes that.
Yes.
Thing. She likes
Hideki.
Yellow
I
Shirt.
do.
Yellow Shirt High Deck. He is my guy.
Yes.
Okay.
Me
I love it.
Me
Sylvie's
too.
on board, and that makes me feel really good. Okay. So
Me
Clarkey, back to you for 2 here.
Okay, I am going with my guy again. Now, this guy is totally my guy.
Okay.
Xander Schauffele.
Yeah, you like Shoffley. I get it.
And probably your guy, Drury, but knows the New York area well. Cameron Young.
I like that. I like that for you. I'm going to go with the guy that legitimately kind of is your guy. This guy typically does well for you, Clarkey, but I think that this dude's irons are really going to help him out at a tough Shinnecock. Give me Sammy Burns.
Had him last week. Played well.
Yes, he always plays well.
Doigy 2 to finish.
2 to finish. I don't even have a list in front of me. I don't know who's favorites. I don't know what's
Can I help you?
on.
Can I give you a hint? Can I give you a hint?
You know
Sure.
who's favorite.
Your guy's available.
Yeah.
Your guy. You pick him every freaking week.
I might go off board though this week.
Okay.
I might go
Okay.
off
It
board.
worked well last week with Eric
Yeah.
Cole.
You know what? After the first round, he looked pretty good, didn't he?
Yeah. And where was he after the second?
He shit the bed.
He did.
Okay, go ahead,
So-
Doigy.
The reason I picked Eric is he has been playing well, and I know his parents, right? So
he has
that's
played
a
well.
reason-
Yeah.
That's a good reason to pick him in.
He
a
has
he's
pool.
played well. So I
Perfect.
thought, you know what?
Yeah.
He's playing well. I'll go ahead and pick him because I know his parents and I like them. So anyway, I'm gonna go with Justin Rose
Rosie.
because he
Like-
plays well on difficult golf courses, and I
Yes, he
think
does.
and he played well here the last time. And
Okay.
I know he's injured, and I know his wrist isn't great, but he won here the last time it was played here, and I'm going to go with him. I'm going to ride him. I'm going to ride Brooks Koepka.
Yeah. Brooksy Koepka. Yeah. And he played real well the last time it was at Shinnecock, and a really good showing for him. I'm going to round out my team here.
A win would be really good.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Right? He did win it the last time it was at Shinnecock. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Pretty darn good. Knows the course well and knows how to handle. Like, the rough is going to be really tough here. Like, we're talking, like, you look at all the golf shows and they're talking about the winner of this probably shooting like 2 over. Like,
Yeah.
it has set up really tough. Like, this is going to be a nasty grind for these golfers. And with that in mind,
Yes.
I want to take a guy that I'm always a big fan of. It hurts my heart, actually, gentlemen, when I don't pick this guy.
Here he goes.
When I don't pick this guy,
We're going
it
to Europe,
actually-
aren't we? We're going to Europe.
I lose a little piece of my soul, and I'm going to the land of me forefathers, to the beautiful rolling green hills of Ireland.
Hey, it'll be Shane Lowry.
Lowry.
Say it for me. That's right. I'm
Shane
going with Shane
Lowry.
Lowry.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I'm nothing if not predictable, gentlemen. Shane Lowry is going to win the tournament this year. I'm telling you. Clarkey,
My
finish
last
us
one.
off here.
I can't believe
This is big for
Oberg
you.
is playing, isn't he? Like, Doigy didn't pick him.
I didn't
Here's
pick
the-
him. No.
Here's the deal with Ludwig. Ludwig doesn't like the wind, and he doesn't do
I
well
don't know.
with
We'll
thick
see.
rough.
Well, here's a guy who really is accurate in every shot he makes, and I think his top he'll be in the top 10. I think this week, and
Side bet on this. Okay, top 10 for this guy. Let's go.
okay, and he is known as Russell Henry.
Henley, not
Henley.
Henry.
Henley. I had it written
Clarkey's
down wrong.
disqualified from
No,
the
no.
golf bet.
Russell Henley. You watch.
Ryan, put Henry down because I want to see how Russell Henry plays this.
Stop.
I'm putting down. I've written down Rusty Henry, and that's what we're rolling with for Clarkey. Okay. I don't think he's finishing top 10 here at Shinnecock. I want to ask you, now that the golf picks are complete, really quick to run it down. Chris, rolling with Matty Sketcher, Xander Schauffele, Cam Young, Rusty Henry. No, Russell Henley.
I was hesitating because I was like, it's not Henry. It's
Russell
not
Henley. I am rolling with Tommy Fleetwood, yellow shirt himself, Hideki Matsuyama, Sam Burns, and Shane, the Pride of Ireland, Lowry. And Doigie's rolling with Scotty, Rory, Justin Rose, Brooks Koepka.
And let me just add, Doigie's last two guys he had last week, and neither of them, well, one didn't finish and one didn't make the cut. So
but can I tell you to F off right now?
No.
Here's what I'll say though. One thing we know about Rosie is he is a big time bounce back guy. He's not missing the cut this
we'll
week.
See.
He's not missing the cut, and Rosie's performed well at Shinnecock too.
So he does.
This is a different golf course. We're not playing outside of Caledon right now, Clarkey. This is Shinnecock. This is big time stuff, okay? I have to ask you, Doigie, what you think of the way they've laid this course. We've talked before about guys having gripes with the way the USGA lays these courses out. Some people really hate that it's quote unquote too tough. Again, a lot of people saying that the winning score might be like 1 or 2 over, which I agree with. What is your thoughts on the way that this golf course is going to play, at least the way it looks?
Well, I love it. I mean, I know the fairways are a little wider this time as opposed to last time it was played.
They made them wider.
Yeah, they made them wider, and that's because of the wind and everything else. But I love the fact that it's a grind fest. I love the fact that Overpar might win the golf tournament. It brings out the best of every part of your game to be a champion. And that's what I love about it. And to be honest with you, like, we call it the Canadian Open, but it's a glorified PGA Tour event. I mean, come on, guys, that golf course 2 years in a row, and they've just eaten it up and tore it apart. So I hate that. I love the U.S. Open. I think it's going to be a great week. And you know what? One of my guys is going to win. I'm going to run away with the trophy at the end of the week, and so we'll all be set.
Well, I don't know how you're going to do that when it's going to be yellow shirt on Sunday, but I will say this. Yellow shirt and Lowry are going to be in the final group, but you kind of echoed what Rory said earlier about the Canadian Open, and we know that Rory, there it is, the picks right there, producer Chris, how about that? He was talking about this leading in where somebody had said to him, because Rory, he didn't come this year, but he has been a great ambassador and a consistent top-end player that shows up all the time at the Canadian Open, and he made that comment too, that he doesn't want to see the event become a tier 2 event, is what he said. Yeah. Why are people looking at it like that, Doigie?
Well, let's be honest. If we really think about the 4 biggest events of the year, we have always the Masters, the PGA Championship, the U.S. Open, and the Open Championship for the British Open. Those 4 events are the biggest events in the world, and they're all run independently from the PGA Tour. The PGA Tour has nothing to do with them. Mm-hmm. And the Canadian Open used to be considered, many years ago, the 5th major. It never ever got that actual word or, the stamp of approval. But amongst the players, it's a national championship, and it was considered the 5th major until Golf Canada, RCJ back then, sold out to the PGA Tour and made it a PGA Tour event. It used to be run independently and everything else. And I'm afraid that we've gone down that path so far now, and we're so connected to the PGA Tour that what's going to happen is, unless RBC, if they keep sponsoring it, or whoever sponsors it, comes up with $30 or $40 million, it will become as Rory said, a track 2 tournament. And that's a glorified Corn Ferry Tour. Nobody will come.
Yeah, and we don't want that to happen, obviously. And I mean, I don't know.
What's the way around it then?
Yeah.
A bigger purse, okay, or harder negotiation with the PGA Tour.
There you go.
I think about how many times, we've always been that event that was held the week prior to the U.S. Open or the week after the British Open, and that. You know, the only way we got players here when it was right after the British Open was for Golf Canada to charter private jets and stuff and our 737s to bring the players over to play. They wouldn't even have come and played in it, and that was the only way we got them here. And so you got to negotiate harder with the PGA Tour and say, no, we are a national championship. We're as good as the U.S. Open, and that's what we're going to be.
Yeah, and I mean now a lot of people.
That's the only way it'll happen.
100%. Now people would argue, you know, the fifth majors kind of become the players, and I mean I don't know. It's a difficult conversation for sure. Doig, I'm curious your thought on this. There's been a lot of chatter as well about how Ontario centric the tournaments become. There's a lot of great golf courses out west. You're familiar with that. You played a lot of the great courses across this country. Like, would you like to see a little bit more of a shift in where it's hosted every year?
Well, yeah. I mean, from a golf course perspective, the last Open I played in was played at Shaughnessy out in Vancouver, and it's a great venue. But the problem is they cow tie to the PGA Tour, right? PGA Tour, the players go, well, we don't want to fly all the way to the West Coast, right? So Golf Canada goes, you know what? Yeah, okay, then we'll have it in Toronto all the time. Now, that said, travel's easier. They can fly into Toronto. They can get better. They can get to the hotels and everything. But, I mean, it's up in Caledon now. Where the hell do you stay when you're playing in Orangeville? Right? Like, really? So
my mom's basement? I don't know.
Yeah, right, exactly. Let's move it around. Let's make it a national open again. I mean, you know, it had a great track record when it was at Glen Abbey, but the guys didn't like Glen Abbey. It wasn't a very good golf course. So move it around to great golf courses, you know, and start going to some of the older ones like, you know, the London Hunt Club and Mississauga Golf Club again. I mean, you know, yes, they'd have to find a little bit of length to lengthen them out a little bit, but that could probably be done. I just think that we bow down too much to the PGA Tour to try and get those players. But I think if we broke away and became an independent tournament again, it might resurrect itself and the players would come. Especially if they start talking about it being a track 2 event. If they start talking about that, then they just got to walk away. Say we're going to be independent.
Yeah, we can't have that. Well, you have our vote. You should be the president of this. You should be the president of the event, and you should run the whole thing and get my buddy Yellow Shirt up there to win it all the time for me when we make our picks. Okay?
I'd be happy to take over that job. You know, I mean, I think that'd be fun.
Well, you better know Yellow Miraju, the top Canadian last week.
Yeah. I would make sure he's invited back again next year.
Can I just ask what your thoughts were when you saw Yellow Miraju at the top of near the top of the leaderboard, thinking Clarkey picked this guy?
Well, I have to be very honest with you. I didn't see him because I was on the golf course myself trying to get ready for my tournament. So
gotcha. Okay.
This guy's busy, Clarkey. Okay, he doesn't worry. Yeah, what's the old saying? Lions don't worry about sheep. That's Doig. He's
driving around Montreal or wherever right now.
Live from the streets of Montreal, our golf expert Ian Doig. The picks are in. Let's see how it works out. Doig, there's another look at the picks. Doig, we really appreciate this, brother. You're a busy guy out there. Good luck with your game. Thanks for doing this, pal.
All right, anytime, guys. You know that I love coming on, and I love the banter. It's always awesome. And yeah, we'll talk to you later. Thanks for waiting for me tonight too. Thanks, appreciate it.
You bet, brother. There is Ian Doig. Au revoir,
mon ami. Look at this graphic. Isn't that impressive that I whipped this up?
It's pretty good, man. I'm
look
shocked.
Look at the bottom line. Do you like that?
I'm as shocked as you are. Yeah, that's really cute. Yeah, I didn't want to make a comment on that, but that's really cute of you to put that up there, brother. When I win by 12 strokes, we're gonna be changing. Okay. We're gonna be changing that byline. Let me tell you that right now.
You're looking to pull. You're gonna slap. You said it yourself.
I am. I'm man enough to admit that. And when I'm in a slump, I don't accuse the only reason I'm losing is because everybody's picking my guys. So go ahead, have Matty Skechers. You enjoy him, and I'll
the last 3, so I'm okay.
You have you're doing just fine, brother. All right, we appreciate everybody tuning in on all your favorite podcast Marked Rogers TV, YouTube, following us on social media at Instigating Pod. Really appreciate our friend Mike Ulmer and, of course, Ian Doig for coming on. We'll be back next week. We'll see what other crazy stuff comes out of Leafland in the next week. Who knows? They're setting an awful quick pace here, and the draft right around the corner, too. Lots to talk about in the coming weeks here on Instigating with Clarkey and Drury. We'll see you next time.